This video will focus on how to write formulas and name molecules or covalently bonded compounds. Binary simply means two elements, meaning for molecular compounds, you're going to have one nonmetal bonded to one nonmetal. Okay, so how do we name them? When we're dealing with molecules, the way it works within the name is that the number of elements that are bonded are actually, that number is noted with something called a prefix. Okay. On the screen you have your list of prefixes from 1 up through 10, mono, di, tri, tetra, penta, hexa, hepta, octa, nona, and deca. Okay. Those will be used to describe how many elements are bonded within the compound. Now remember, for molecules, there is a variety of potential chemical formulas that can be formed with two of the same elements coming together. For example, on the screen I have that NO, N2O, and NO2. If you simply call that like nitrogen oxygen or nitrogen oxide, you wouldn't know what the actual formula was. So by using the prefixes to describe how many of each element is bonded, you then know what the chemical formula is. So for example, starting on the left of your screen, that CO would be carbon monoxide. Okay, the mono is describing that there's one oxygen. Now a rule, okay, if you listen, carbon monoxide, basically it's not monoxide. When you have a double vowel, you drop the vowel from the prefix. Okay. The other thing you're hearing, I'm not saying monocarbon monoxide. Okay, you only use the prefix mono in front of the second element if there's only one. Okay, so below that we have carbon dioxide because there's two oxygens, and again you don't say monocarbon dioxide because when it's the first one is one, you don't use mono. Okay, water is actually dihydrogen monoxide. Below that you have dihydrogen dioxide, which is the same thing as actually hydrogen peroxide. NO would be nitrogen monoxide, where below that NO2 would be nitrogen dioxide, and then N2O would be dinitrogen monoxide. Okay. Here are three of the names: carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, and dinitrogen monoxide. One thing I want you to notice is that they're all lower cases. These are not proper names. They're just names of compounds. And then the prefixes are obviously one, it is the same word as the elements. So they're right close to one another. Another set of things that you might have to name are your diatomics. Okay, diatomics are the nonmetals that come in pairs when they're in their elemental form. Okay, and they're named just what they are. Okay, the diatomics are what I have already asked you to remember, HNOF. It's actually HNOF 17 for diatomics because column 17 all does diatomics also, all those halogens. So it's HNOF and then the column 17, so like Cl, Br, I, they all come in twos. So their chemical formula is N2, O2, H2, F2, Cl2. Okay, when they're in their elemental form, when they're alone, this is the chemical formulas they make. And you name them simply what they are: nitrogen, oxygen, hydrogen, fluorine, chlorine. They don't have fancy names. When you're naming molecules, all you need to do is look at how many of the elements there are. Okay, and that's the prefix you put in front of the elemental symbol. And the other thing, I don't know if you noticed on the last screen when I was talking, is the second element was always ending in "ide," oxide, nitride, chloride. Okay, the second word basically take off the ending and replace it with "ide." In terms of how much of it you take off, that's something you'll just get used to. It's always this group of nonmetals that we do, and there's not that many nonmetals, so you'll get used to kind of the pattern of what the ides sound like. Okay. And then again, don't use that mono for the first one, only use mono for the second one. That is the most common mistake when it comes to naming molecular compounds. So I've already done most of these with you. Okay. If you want to, you can stop the video and actually go through them again for yourself, but I'll run through the names. The first one is carbon monoxide. The second one is dihydrogen monoxide, and then it's nitrogen monoxide, dinitrogen monoxide, nitrogen dioxide, and then the bottom ones are just hydrogen, oxygen, and fluorine. You just name them what they are. If you have to make the formula from the name is given to you, and the prefix will tell you how many. It's very simple to make a make a chemical formula from a name when it comes to molecules. You just take whatever the symbol is of the thing that's named, and then the prefix will just be the number as a subscript on the elemental symbol. You don't ever write the subscript 1. If it helps you, do this, you can write it down, but you must erase it. Otherwise, it will be considered wrong. So here are 6 examples that I'll run through with you guys. The first one is nitrogen, which is N. Trifluoride will be F3, because there's 3 fluorines. Phosphorus is P. Pentachloride means there's 5 chlorines. Sulfur is S. Hexafluoride means there'll be 6 fluorines. Dihydrogen monosulfide is H2 with 1 S. Carbon monoxide, just a C and an O. And then dinitrogen tetrahydride, 4 H's, 2 N's. So molecular compounds are fairly simple to name and write chemical formulas for. The prefix tells you how many there are. The only thing to remember, because eventually we mix all the names together, is that the way you will identify if this is the naming system you will use is that it's a nonmetal with a nonmetal. Have a good night.